Make a formal introduction for our listener. Good afternoon, Rumer. My name is Claudia. I'm calling you from Washington, D.C., from the studio in Fairfax City. We're very humble and grateful that Rumer accepted our invitation to our show. Rumer, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. This has been, the last 2 years has been very weird for everybody with the COVID. Some people here in the United States believe in the vaccine, some people don't. How the COVID affected you as a person, as a human being, as an artist? How you holding up?
Well, I mean, it's been okay. I think that, musicians generally we're used to adverse conditions. So we're very adaptable. And I think that, I felt that that I think everybody as well, I think everybody adapted, pretty quickly to the situation. And there were some challenges. I have a young child, so it was very difficult in terms of getting work done. And I was promoting my album Nashville Tears at the time, so we were doing sort of live streams and interviews and stuff from home, and trying to do like performances, broadcasts from home. I did an international move from the US to the UK in 2020. I mean, of course, it was definitely challenging, but in many ways, I think, the artist's mind is always curious, and any kind of disturbance is in some way interesting, So when society gets disturbed, there's also an element of fascination with that, curiosity. Oh, this is interesting. This hasn't happened before, So it was very interesting as well and also obviously challenging on a health point of view. My husband got very sick with COVID, and there are people that I knew that got very sick with COVID, and a lot of people did die, tragically. So it was a crazy time, but overall, I was just thinking the other day, I was at Waterloo Station, and I was thinking, goodness, everyone's walking around normally without masks now and just getting on with their business and going to weddings and parties. And, Waterloo Station is a good gauge of that, because you can see everybody going somewhere, doing something, dressed up with a hat or doing something. And it felt like, well, really, it's kind of really normal now. Everything's kind of back to normal. That was really crazy. Those couple of years were pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. As you know, over 1 million people die here in the United States, and people all over the world. Some musicians like yourself, that depended on the income, they depended on tour a little bit, and they disappeared. They took another job. They went back to school, and so affected.
Yeah, absolutely.
Many industries. So it was tough for me, for some people. I'm very lucky that, music is my passion. I'm a computer scientist. I do this for fun because music has been very important for me since I was a little kid. So I'm very lucky that nothing happened to me or my wife or my family, that kind of stuff. Where you were born in Pakistan? How old were you before your family moved, to the UK? Do you remember, or any memories from that?
I think we moved permanently when I was about 4.
Yeah.
But we lived in a sort of international expat community.
Yeah.
So we weren't immersed in the culture completely. It was a dam project, a water authority project that was a huge project that lasted many decades. So they had constructed a village, a sort of construction village, for the workers on this dam, who and many countries were represented. So you had Australians, Canadians, Americans, English people, Pakistanis as well, all living together in a sort of community, in quite a social atmosphere, really.
Yeah, I got you. Were you born like in a musical family? I mean, how old were you when you perhaps began taking guitar lesson or piano lesson? How music came to you in your life?
I've never had any lessons. I've never had any lessons at all for any music. I am from a musical family. Everyone in the family plays something.
Yeah.
And I think that may have come as a result of the fact that I'm one of 8 children. I'm the seventh of 8 children. So my family, by the time they'd moved to Pakistan, they had lived in other countries too. They had lived in South Africa, they had lived in Australia,
Wow.
and they had and often in remote and underdeveloped places, because that's why my father was there to build infrastructure.
Correct.
So there wasn't really much to do. So I think that I grew up in a kind of traditionally conservative Catholic family, that really made their own entertainment through music and poetry and books and things like that. And I think my mother leaving England in the early 60s and going to these remote parts of the world kind of meant that it retained a kind of conservative Catholic atmosphere of that time when she left. So it wasn't as though there was no sense of the world changing around anybody. There was often no television, so there was a sense of being isolated from the world and being influenced by all these different countries and cultures.
Yeah. I was born in Chile, in Latin America, and I came to the United States to study, and I ended up staying all my life. And I grew up in a Catholic family as well. I went to Catholic school, studied with the Jesuits, but I'm kind of reformed Catholic, if you will. I believe, but I have my own ways that see the world.
Yeah,
That's,
my mother was very devout, and my
yeah.
grandmother was very devout, and so that was a huge influence on us, because it was absolutely a non-negotiable. The Catholicism was absolutely non-negotiable,
Yeah.
and it was part of everything. It permeated everything.
Yeah, my mom was the same as your mom. I mean, she had been in every pilgrims, Israel and Portugal and Spain and everywhere in the world. And for me, I take Catholicism as a way to, help people out, do the right thing in life, don't take advantage, don't do stupid stuff.
Mm.
So I wouldn't have to go to church every Sunday, right, to mass, to believe in stuff. I believe somebody else created the world, and I try to do the right thing in life. And if you could have like a personal connection with God or not, as that have worked for me. So but I respect everybody's opinion. And you as a young girl, you won the school annual talent show. What can you
I
remember
did.
about how can you remember about that period? How old were
Oh,
you?
it was just I think I was about 13 or 14, but no, we won the 10 pound. We won a book voucher, but it was really nice, because I went to a really nice school, and I actually went to a school in the north of England,
Yep.
in Cumbria. So I got this experience. I'd lived with my mother for my early years, and then I'd gone to live with my dad in the north,
Yep.
and so I had a completely different experience. Um, People are friendlier in the north.
Yeah. Which area?
Cumbria, Carlisle in Cumbria.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that area.
So it
Yeah.
was an
Okay.
interesting experience to have a northern experience. It was a very friendly school. It was a very encouraging school. It was lots of art and music and silliness, and it was fairly easygoing as a school.
Good for you. So you
Mm.
showed like an early promise in life. You knew back then that sort of music was a way to go for you, or eventually you were 17, 18, I suppose you will finish in high school, and you needed to make a decision. Well, should I go to school, university, or go to
Mm.
music? You do any pressure for your parents about, hey, forget about the music, you're not going to make any money, you're good, but not perhaps good enough to make it, go to school, and or nothing like that, huh?
I don't think they even made a comment about it. I think they just they, by the time I was, you have to remember they started having kids in 1963.
Yeah.
And by the 90s, they were just over it. They were just over kids. Like, do your thing, whatever
Be
you want to
happy.
do, go do it. I don't think they really cared what I did, as long as it wasn't getting into too much trouble. So when I left school, I went to do my A levels and I went to university, but I wasn't there very long. I was there 6 months.
Yeah.
Because I was doing theatre, acting, which I showed some gift for, a little bit of gift, few gifts for, but it wasn't for me. And I realized that it just wasn't for me. But back then, you had to really have qualifications to do music, to study music. And I didn't have any qualifications in music. I knew I was good at it, but I had no proof. So I couldn't move to the music course. And so in the end, so I just left and went to London and just got a job. So I was 18 and just got a job, got a couple of jobs, and just
Wow.
started living.
Wow. Wow. Good for you. Good for you. Sometime in life, you need to be foolish enough, like I did, thinking that you can conquer the world, and the only way you could prove everybody wrong or prove that yourself, you do it, right? So you will
Just go
always
do it.
come back home, but you will never know if you haven't have the chance and pursue your dreams, I suppose.
Well, I was never really welcome at home, to be honest with you. There was
Yeah.
My mother had um quite a grumpy husband, sorry to say. He was quite grumpy. And he made it very clear that I could not stay there more than a week, you know. So there was there was no going home. I mean, even for the 2 years that I lived there, I remember looking back and thinking, I was sleeping in the dining room with a dining table and 6 chairs. And it's like, well, if you're going to be living there for a couple of years to do your studies or whatever, wouldn't they just move the dining table? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you
But
mean. Yeah.
there was always this sense of like, you're the temporary one. The table stays, the chairs stay.
Yeah.
You need to you need to just go on and just go do your thing. So there was actually nowhere to go, you know, there was nowhere to go. So I had to make it, I had to go look after myself.
Yeah. A musician told me a long time ago that if you want to make it to this world, don't have a plan B. I mean, you had only one plan, you have no choice but do it. So push yourself to
Right,
do whatever
exactly.
to
And
do
so
to us, right?
I didn't know it, but I came to London. I didn't know anyone apart from my sister.
Yeah.
She said I could stay there for a while. So I stayed with her
Yeah.
for a while and helped look after her baby at the time, and just I got a
Yeah.
job. And then when she left, she moved to Canada, and I just ran a little room somewhere and just started meeting people, making friends. And then eventually I got into a band and I started doing that, which was La Honda.
Yeah.
And then just as I was kind of feeling like I was making friends and settling in to life and sort of building a life in my sort of late teens, and feeling good about the life that I was kind of building. My mom was diagnosed with breast cancer, and basically I ended up going back to my hometown.
Yeah.
And living in a caravan in a sort of trailer, getting a job in the local pub, and I was just around, for her, until she died.
Yeah. I'm sorry to hear about that.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's okay. It was a long time ago. It was 2003. So when when I was down there, I did, that's the whole thing. But when she died, I was kind of lost, because it was like, well, now what do I do? I have to go back to London and see if I can rebuild again.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I went back to London and just tried to pick up where I left off, but not realizing that I was about to go through huge shifts and changes because of my mother's death and because of how that affected me. I was only 23. And also I was the one that had been around the most. So I was the one that missed her the most, really, because I'd been there every day, just sitting watching TV with her, or, going to the grocery store with her. So I went through a lot of a lot of Seasons of My Soul is a document of that process.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. What kind of music were you listening at the time when you were kind of high school? I mean, you, in a way, you were pointed to music. You knew, I mean, I assume that you knew that you have a gift and you have a special voice that needed to be in a way developed if you choose to do that. And but what kind of music were you listening at the time? Were anybody that you were aiming for, or
at which time?
When you were in high school? I mean, you knew who, I suppose, I don't know, Tracy Chapman or the Carpenters, or
I was a big Joni Mitchell fan.
Yeah.
All the divas, really. I mean, if it was a female vocalist, I like, you know, I was interested in it. Kate Bush, Joni Mitchell,
Kate Bush, yeah.
You know, Aretha Franklin, Sarah Vaughan, Ella Fitzgerald, you know, any, you know, jazz singers. Obviously, Judy Garland, I was number one because I had fallen in love with her when I was a little kid. Dusty Springfield, but also there were some modern singers at the time that I was listening to as well, but around at the time, like Desiree and people like that. But yeah, I loved music. Always loved music and singer-songwriters, especially.
Yeah, good for you, man. Around 2000, 2001, you were in a London-based folk and indie band called La Honda. What memories do you have for that?
Oh, I mean, La Honda was when I first moved to London. That was before I ended up back at my mother's.
Yeah.
That was when it was kind of like, it was, oh, of course, it was so fun. You know, we did a little tour. We supported the band Drugstore, which I think are they from Argentina? I'm not sure. But we supported a band called Drugstore. You know, things it was fun. Like, it was a friendship group. It was a social. Yeah, we had some good times. Like, we really had some good times.
Good for you.
I'm still friends with them. I'm still very good friends with them.
Oh, really? You're still in touch with them? Yeah. Well, via the internet, you can connect with a lot of people before.
They're still local. They're still around.
Yeah. By the way, you are very popular in Latin America. I mean, I'm from Chile, but from Argentina, Mexico. I mean, you're very popular in Latin America. I don't know if you ever have done touring there or you plan on doing it, but you may consider that.
How do you know that, though, Claudio? How do you know that?
Well, because I look for, every time that I prepare for interview, I look at the history of the person, right? Who is talking about the person, where that person is popular. Is it popular in Bandcamp from a point of view? Is it popular from a Spotify point of view? I'm older than you, so I've been listening to music 3-4 hours a day for the last 50 years. I have about 8,000 records. I see a lot of bands. I talk to a lot of people. So I know you are. I know you are very popular there.
Well, so that's really good to know, because I have a sense of it. I have a sense of it, but I'm not sure. Yeah. But I was wondering, I was thinking about this the other day. I was thinking, I wonder if it's the Catholicism that's coming through in my my energy.
Yeah.
It's giving off Catholic vibes, because
I think you have a good voice and you have a good presence. And you know, although you seem to be I'm like you, I'm Gemini, I'm very shy, and I'm pushing myself to the limit. Oh, something happened to your right now. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would say that you could explore that, especially Mexico, Argentina, and Chile, right? Perhaps look at the possibility of doing some song in Spanish. I will look at the list of, and I can send you a list of, right? Like, because I'm sorry?
It's so funny you should say that, because I'm doing, I just said the other day, I want to do a Spanish album.
Yeah, yeah.
In Spanish, but I need help with the translations.
Yeah, I could help you. I'm
Did you?
I interview a couple of, you know, known people here. I don't want to mention the name, and I want to help them out doing the same. Um I pick the top 20 songs in Latin America that people between the ages of 30 and 60 will know. We'll pick the top 12 or so, show them the rankings and why I think those tracks are important. And then I will help them with the, not yet translation, but the pronunciation. And I'm happy to do it for you. No problem.
Yeah, I've just been doing a Christmas song,
Yeah.
and I want to do a Spanish version of the song. And there is a Spanish version of the song,
Yep.
but there is a part of the song which I've added from another version that is
Yep.
I did my research. I couldn't find any Spanish version. It's like I'll be home for Christmas, but it's the bit that goes, I'm dreaming tonight of a place I love even more than I usually do. And although I know it's a long road back, I promise you. I can't find that bit in Spanish. I
Yeah.
can find the rest of it. I mean, my mother was a Spanish teacher,
Yeah.
and her husband was a Spanish teacher, and I did A-level Spanish. I love Spanish, you know, and I could have pursued it more. And I can read. I can read it. You know, I can understand it. Okay, you know, I'm not bad. You know what I mean? So I could,
Yeah.
if somebody said, here are the lyrics, I could read them and sing them and kind of know how to pronounce them pretty well. So I mean, I'd love to do a Spanish record.
Yeah, I will help you. Don't worry.
Thank you.
Happy to help. Well,
Thank you.
So then in 2004, you formed a band called Rumer and the Denials. I think you delete an early version of Come to Me High. That was in 2007, if I remember correctly. What memory do you have for that period?
That wasn't a real band. That was just that was an idea of just calling it Rumer and the Denials.
Yeah.
It was the original. It was my first sort of name, you know, release. It was my first ever release, a 7-inch Come to Me High.
Yep.
Yeah, it was just my first. It was my first ever release. I got a little play on the local London radio, and it was did promotion, and it was just a little dip my toe in the water kind of thing.
Yeah, good for you, man. Good for you. And then in a couple of years after you with Rory Moore, you've under the name of Stereo Venus. You did some recording. I think it was aimed for television and the film industry at the time, right? It was driven in Europe. Did it
I did. I met Rory. Rory is an organ. He plays the Lowry organ, and he plays in a band. Was in a band called Les Hommes, which is was vibraphone, drums, and organ, and they were an instrumental jazz trio. And Rory and I ended up collaborating on this Stereo Venus project, which was really a library album. And Italy had said, you know, could you make us a library album? They gave us 10,000 euros. We made the record, and it's library music, so it gets put on. Apparently one of the songs was on Better Call Saul the other day, and and I still do vocals for Rory, and Rory and I are actually writing together. In fact, we are going to do another Stereo Venus record. So we're getting back we're starting to go spend a bit more time together and develop some more songs. So it could be a stereo, not anytime soon, but there could be another Stereo Venus album on the way.
Yeah. Well, $10,000 at the time was very good money. Good for you.
Yeah. You know, I didn't have any other deals at that time. I didn't have any other opportunities. I mean, all that money really went on the record. You know, we spent it on the making of the record.
Yeah.
But it's an opportunity to make something.
Sure.
And I love that record. I think it's a really cute record. It just sort of. Do you like Stereo Venus?
Yeah, I listened to it. It's very good. I mean, I was able to see I don't have all the stuff from you, but I listened to a lot of stuff in the last 2 days on Spotify, and on YouTube, and I saw the progression in you, and I mean, I knew back then, right? Some people had talent, right? And then some people are discovered by record labels, and some people, for any reason or another, they got in trouble early in life and they don't have the right connection and they cannot develop, right? Like anything else, it's like a business. You need to have good communication skill, be approachable, be attracted to a record label. The record label want to use you, they want to make money out of you. So, hey, I don't want artistic stuff. I want to see if you have any commercial stuff. And when you do, give me a call because I want to make money. I want to invest in you. Unfortunately, it's a dirty business, and but I've been learning about that the last 2 years, interviewing people. And but you have talent, and you are perseverant, Rumer. I mean, you are consistent. You are eager. You are hungry, and some people are born with the stuff. Some people are not born. I don't know how to. They're not teachable skills, I suppose. You know, you can be lucky for a little bit, a
Yeah.
certain time, but not all the way through, right? So.
No, and it's a resourcefulness and a
Yeah,
determination. I mean, I didn't know anyone. Like, I did not have friends in. I did not have any friends in high places.
Yeah.
I didn't know anyone in the music business. And back then, now people are independent. They can put things out directly to fans. Back then, it was really the internet. Wasn't really as big as it is now.
Correct. Yeah.
And some people were putting out stuff independently, but I didn't know how to do that. It wasn't accessible to me. And also, so back then it was like you had to get a record contract. It's like, how do you get a record contract? It was about as likely as winning the lottery. It seemed like such a massive, like, one, I don't know, it was such a big thing to try and do. I couldn't actually believe it when I did it. It was enormous. Me, actually did happen. I was just, my mind was blown by it. But I was just happy to put that record out. And I had no idea that it was going to be like in the pop world. I thought it was going to be like, what I was hoping for was some sort of presence in the jazz world, like jazz aficionados, or like people who liked female singers. I didn't think that it would be in the charts or anything like that.
Yeah. Well, maybe it has to do because you had like a difficult upbringing, and that gave you tenacity and stubbornness, and it built a good character in you, and hey, this is my life. I want to do it. And
son falls over sometimes. He stumbles, he falls over. I stand there. I'm like, come on, get up.
Yeah, nobody will do it for you. So good for you.
Because life is tough, and you gotta pick yourself up, and
that's right.
You got to be resilient. You got to be resilient, and I think that's why you talked about COVID earlier. It's like we're built for this. In many ways, the initiation into the music industry gives you resilience in lots of ways. You're adaptable. You're resilient. You think, okay, you look around, you see what you can do. Rely on other things. I don't know. Like, there's a lot. Thank you for saying that I'm persistent, because I feel like I have fought to stay, to stay and keep creating music and of a high quality, and trying to maintain that quality has come at, with sacrifices. Maintaining that on live and on record has, I've pretty much put everything I have into this. I'm basically running like a non-profit. I'm just everything is for the music and to maintain that quality and to maintain that level of just trying to keep it at that level, and also not making any sort of different. I do different things. I could do Stereo Venus, I do collaborations, but I try and keep those separate. In terms of, like, I know people are listening. Some people are listening through Spotify, or they've got me on shuffle, and they don't want to like suddenly have their ears assaulted by something completely not what they're, something different, like not what they were expecting.
Yep.
So I'm very careful to not jolt people, with anything too sonically different.
Yep. No, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. And some years later, your life changed completely. I mean, you won. You were nominated to two Brit Award in January 2011. Your album Season of My Soul peaked at the UK chart #3. You have certified platinum in 2013, sold 1 million copies. Man, what can you tell about that period? Talking about changing life. It was you
Yeah.
went from here to all the way to the top, I suppose, right? So
Yeah, I mean, it was extraordinary. It was extraordinary in many ways. I'd have been happy with it. Like one of those things, just to happen. One of those things would have been amazing. It all happened at once. And so in many ways, I couldn't really enjoy it. I didn't have the time to really stop and process any of it or enjoy any of it because I was physically, on a practical level, I was just busy traveling. Like I was traveling, packing a suitcase, unpacking a suitcase, go from an apartment to a car to an airport to a car to a hotel to a radio station to a car to a hotel to a radio station. I mean, that's what it was like for a year. It was just like just promotion and travel and going to all these countries, which I really now I think look back and I think actually I really appreciate that I got to do that, because now that sort of international promotional thing is really only something that the very big stars do now. And to physically go to the country and do the radio and the traditional promotion. Now it's all online and digital and everything else. So I did get to meet a lot of people in different countries, and I did get to travel and do different things, and it was very hard on my health, and that's why unfortunately I had to pull away from the industry in late 2012 2013, because I was just physically getting run down by the schedule, so, and there was just too much in the schedule, and so I just stopped and went to America. And that was the beginning of my sort of Intercolor period, where I began writing for Intercolor. I was writing for Intercolor, but I was also trying to recover. And also I wanted to get some sunshine in January. I wanted to get away from England. I wanted to kind of give myself a chance to recover a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was the Intercolor period. Oh, you probably want to do this chronologically, huh?
That's right. Yeah. So I need to I need to stop there. So psychological level, is it difficult to, like you mentioned, handle the pressure of one day you are like a normal 20-something-year-old living and then all of a sudden everybody was calling you need to get an agent. Yeah, you're making money and you're selling record and you start beginning performing bigger venues, but it's, I don't know, I'm not famous, so it's difficult to kind of be famous. You're touring, you wake up in a city or you don't even remember the name of the hotel. You need to be ready at 2:00 and wear your makeup because somebody's driving you here, and then catch a couple nights sleep, and then talk to more stupid people like myself, and then go to bed, and then drive you to go to another cities. Is it difficult? Right. One hand, you have money, you ask for it, right? You ask, in here in the United States will say you ask for it, you got it, but now you got it. I mean, so how you manage that in your head?
Well, there's money, but that's all you have. It's money in
There's
a
no
vacuum.
happiness, right? So
Well, it's money. It's money in a vacuum. So you haven't got time. You haven't got any time. You haven't got any family around you. You haven't got you can't see your friends. You don't have a relationship. You don't have your health because you're ill. So it's just money on its own is nothing. Because like you can't there's nothing to, you can't go any, you haven't got time to go anywhere or do anything. You haven't got anyone to do it with. You're ill. I mean, honestly, it was really, I mean, what you ended up spending the money on, and what I ended up spending a lot of money on, was doctors, acupuncturists, anything that was going to make me feel better.
Yeah.
So ironically, the money went on my health. A lot of that money went on my health.
Yeah.
Large sums of money went on my health because I was trying to stay alive throughout that process. But no, it was a very interesting thing. And what was very interesting as well, Claudia, was like, for example, it was very triggering for me because it was almost like the experience of having your life out of your control and being dehumanized and created like just like an object was very difficult for me. And also because I was 30 when I signed that record deal, I had a very free life. I was an independent girl, I had a lot of control over my life and my time. So to have your life completely taken over by people you don't really know, you're suddenly with these people that work for somebody else and don't really have your best interest. They're not really your friends.
Of course.
What I mean?
Yes.
So, but you haven't got time to see your actual friends. Meanwhile, because you're on billboards and you're in magazines and you're doing interviews and you're doing all this promo, everyone that I've ever known since in the whole history of my life suddenly goes, oh, I should send Sarah an email, and see how she's doing. So everyone starts to contact you and go, hi, how's it going? Wow, I saw you on blah, blah, blah. And you haven't got time to reply to any of them. And then they think that you're too big for your boots, or you haven't, or you're famous now. And you're like, it's like, you can't explain. Like, I haven't got time. Like, I wish it's only because you've seen me on the television advertising. It's gone into your head. You've been reminded of me. You think you're the only one that's texted me or called me. Like, I can't keep up with it all. So that was one element. Also, like, for example, when you do a morning TV show, you get up early, you go to the TV studio, there's the hair and makeup girl, it's good atmosphere, you get your makeup done, like, these people are paid enormous sums of money. They got the clothes, the rail of clothes, or these beautiful clothes, you put them on, you look $1 million, you've had your makeup done, your hair done, all that. You just you look like you're ready for the catwalk. Okay, you go out there, you talk to Lorraine Kelly or whatever the TV show is for like 5 minutes, and then everything's packed up, they put you in a cab and you're home at 9 o'clock in the morning, all dressed. You still there?
Yeah. Thinking you got frozen for a while. Go ahead.
You're just sitting there all dressed up, or in like looking like $1 million, like all dressed up, just sitting on your couch,
Yeah.
And I remember going to the sink and sobbing, and taking all this makeup off and thinking, I'm so lonely.
Yeah. Where
because
you
there's so much energy and excitement around you from all the people, and then it's gone. It's like a sort of unnatural state to be in, but what I really love is just being part of a community, a normal community, and I felt what fame did to me was estranged me from my community, which is the saddest thing, because community is everything for me.
And your private life goes away. You need to, everybody could be taking pictures, so you need to go, even if you go to the grocery store, you need to wear decent clothes, or I don't know, or makeup or whatever.
That really I'm not like that. Nobody was ever like that. I was never like, that would be sort of a different level of fame. It wasn't like that. Really, when I was just around without makeup on, people really didn't really notice me that much. But really, it was just the loneliness, just the crushing loneliness of feeling busy and surrounded by people, but feeling like like the kind of loneliness that you think could kill you. Like, I'm so lonely, I think I could die of it. Like, I feel it in my bones. Like, it's in my bones. And so I really sympathize with people when they say they're lonely and they feel like loneliness. It's like it's almost like a physical condition. It's like I'm so lonely
Mm.
that that I can. It's like Siberia in my bones.
I know
You
exactly
know?
what you mean. And
Yeah.
it was normal for you to have like you were single at the time, to have like a normal relationship with a boy or whatever, or it was difficult for.
Boyfriend Sam, who at the time he was but you know, again, I never got to see him, and
Yeah,
eventually we just drifted apart.
yeah,
You know,
I suppose.
yeah,
Yeah,
you know, I just couldn't do anything or go anywhere, so that just never happened. You
yeah,
know, it's I was vulnerable anyway. I was vulnerable girl, you know, because I didn't have a stable sense of I didn't have any stability or foundations. I didn't have family around me that cared. I had no one picking me up from the airport. There was no one there to say, "Oh, you're home." You
yeah,
know, there was nobody to greet me.
yeah.
So it was like it was just crushingly lonely, honestly.
Yeah.
And the incredible sort of huge things like doing the White House or these enormous stressful events, and then you
Mm.
just go home on your own.
Yeah,
Um,
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah. For that particular album, the track called Slow and had been streamed 9 million times Spotify, and Take Me As I Am, which I really like it. They're wonderful piece of music, and you were signed by Atlantic Records, so it's you know
thank
that's I suppose that, like you said to me about the loneliness and growing up by yourself and being on your own, nobody pick you up at the airport. In a way, that's the price you pay when as you moving up into that
you.
music business, and which is difficult. Sometimes you don't have like a good business manager. They rip you off, and take the money,
Right.
run away. It's tough. Yeah,
Oh, that's a whole other thing. But you know, Claudia, you asked me how what fame was like.
yeah,
It was lonely. It was
yeah.
very, very. But you know, I decided that I didn't want to be famous, and now I'm not famous really. I just do no,
Well known, probably is the word correct. Yeah,
make moderately. You know, if
yeah,
you like music, but it just wasn't me. You know, I need to be part of a community. I have to have time. I have to have time for my friends. I have to have time for my family.
yeah.
I have to have balance, and if it means that I'm not as successful and I'm not making as much money, I'm not making any money really, but it's like it's there's richness, there's wealth in other things, you know. But the commitment to the music has never waned. The music side of it, I've always been committed to making music and doing it to the best of my ability.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah,
that's never been something I wanted to compromise on or change.
yeah. Good. Yeah. No, I understand. In a 2 years after that, you released an album called B-Sides and Rarities, Volume One. The album
Mm-hmm.
contained good track like It Might Be You and I Believe in You. I really like
Yeah,
that album, actually.
thank you. I do too, actually. That record was a fan led project because people would come up to me after shows
Yeah,
and they bring their CDs with extra tracks or random tracks on that
yeah,
they make computers, and they'd found a photo of me and they've made their little rarities CDs themselves. And I
yeah,
thought, I need to do this properly for people if that's what they want.
yeah.
Obviously, people. So I've always tried to kind of listen to the fans to see what they want. At the end of the day, I want to give them things that they want. And B-sides was something that everybody really enjoyed, and so I did it again on B-sides too,
Yeah.
and keep going as long as I've got extra tracks. I'll keep making them.
Absolutely, man. And then a couple years later, you did the album called Boys Don't Cry, and I have a lot of questions about that. As if you're experience your life things from a male point of view, from a male perspective, if you will, because I think all of them are male. Why you end up picking that particular tracks, and I know that
That
later on you end up picking several tracks from Hall and Oates, and Sarah Smile is it's a wonderful piece, very well known here in the United States, and
that time, sorry, just my husband's keeping my son out of the house, but he's gonna have to bring him back in a minute.
Yep.
Boys Don't Cry. When I listen to it now, it's a certain mood. It's a very melancholy record.
Yeah.
Because I was ill at that time. Where I was telling you about how I got sick.
Yeah.
I was not well at all. I was on medication. And so a lot of these, there was a big breakup with my producer. It was very sad. It was very heartbreaking. I was at my lowest doing Boys Don't Cry. But when I listen to it now, I was listening to it the other day, it's a really sort of melancholy record, and it explored these themes, like explored a lot of loneliness, like in a man needs a maid. In a man needs a maid, I really understood what he was saying, in that I haven't got the energy or the strength to be in a relationship, but I need help, like practical help. Like I really understood that really profoundly. I understood a lot of the things, and it was a coincidence in many ways that it was a male perspective, but actually I found myself very much in a man's world, because there aren't that many females in music, really, as much as there should be, and there certainly aren't any female executives or anything like that. So I found myself surrounded by a lot of male energy. I mean, the idea was to just do, songs written by men, purely because I was curious, and I've always been curious about going beyond gender and singing from the perspective of other genders, because I'm interested in storytelling, and being a narrator of any story regardless of gender. So I wanted to see if I could embody songs that told men's stories from a male point of view.
Yeah.
But different types of, like, a sort of a different types of emotions, not just love. Like on Boys Don't Cry, there's a lot of themes, not just love. It's a lot of different themes, a lot of different colors of the rainbow. I really like Boys Don't Cry. Sometimes I think, God, I was so ill during that time, and I could have done that so much better. But then I think, well, it's kind of a moment. And when you're listening to the whole catalogue, it's a mood, if you're in a melancholy mood, it's got a vibe to it that, if you're in the mood for Boys Don't Cry, if you're really in the mood for it, it can be a nice record to listen to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that album. It's very good. And it's all your stuff is very good. I keep on telling you, you're very good.
Oh, thank you.
No problem. I think if looking at the lyrics point of view, forget about the music, right? Or whether that person wrote it or you wrote it or whatever. You have a lot to say in your lyrics, and at the same time, seems to be you are like a very private person. People get to know you through your lyrics, might be correct or incorrect, right? You and I listen to a song, I may have a different interpretation about the interpretation you may have or your husband may have, but it's easy for you to open up. And can people get to know you via the lyrics, if you will? Or?
Yeah, of course. But I'm also very immediate. Like, I'm happy to talk.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to talk to anyone, about anything. So I really, really genuinely really like people. And I really love talking to people. And I've actually got a lot of love for humanity. And just, one of the things I really enjoy is after the show, just meeting everybody and thanking them for coming. And, if I could sit and talk to everybody for 20 minutes, I would, if I had the time, or if any people didn't have trains to catch, I would love to sit and talk to everybody and connect, because we have a lot in common. There's a lot we can share.
Yeah.
And so I've forgotten the question. I've just sort of drifted off there. Oh yeah, no, I'm happy to be open. I'm happy to be open. This really isn't a subject I'm not comfortable, and I'm pretty comfortable talking about anything, really.
Yeah. I mean, from the fans nowadays, as a way to make a little bit of money, most of the artists create T-shirts and an album, and they sell the CDs or the vinyl after the show, and you can make a little bit of money, and then to pay for your expensive. And at the same time, since I'm a consumer, your product is good to you can sign a CD or vinyl, take a picture with the artist. It's great. It's another business model, if you will. Nowadays, very difficult for bands to make money via selling CDs or vinyl. So many bands create record so they can go on tour and then sell CDs for X number of dollars, T-shirt or whatever they do, and that's what they make money from.
I don't charge for meet and greets. I don't believe in charging for meet and greets. I mean, I'm on this woman to woman tour. Correct. Where they have meet and greets, but that's their organization. But when I do, I don't do it because I just like meeting everybody, anyone who wants to come. So I find it difficult. It's probably why I don't make much money, because I don't really think in those terms. I'm trying to think about, I need to, I try and think about what people want. And generally with the people that come to my concerts, they generally just want music. They generally want why I made B-sides. B-sides was actually a merchandise item. Effectively, initially I just printed copies for merch. So, instead of a t-shirt or a mug, it was, here's this B-sides record that, you may not have. And then Warner decided to put it out, and then I decided just to release them. Yeah. But people generally just want music, more music, or just tracks they haven't got, Yeah. But I love meeting people.
Good for you, man. In 2015, you end up releasing a 4-track EP called, I think, "Love Is the Answer," which I really liked as well. Whether I look too much into things, and I look at the title of the albums and the song and the name of the song, and whether you psychologically were you in a better place at the time, or you were still struggling, or
No, I was living in Arkansas.
Yeah.
And I was quite content at that point. I felt safe and content. And, I'd done Daryl's House, Live from Daryl's House, which is a show where you go to Daryl's house.
Yeah.
It's an amazing experience. And everyone was saying, where can we get those tracks from Daryl's house? Well, we tried to, sorry about this.
Yeah.
We tried to license them, but we couldn't. So I thought, well, everyone's asking for these tracks. Let's try and record them, a couple of them. So we recorded a couple. That's where the Love Is the Answer EP came from, was just trying to try and give people what they wanted, which was the Daryl Hall stuff, which we couldn't do. Maybe we'll keep trying. I'll keep trying to see if I can license it.
Yeah.
But so we try to recreate it, and even got Paul Pesco, who's Daryl's guitar player, on that EP to try and get it, so people could get that feeling.
Yeah, it's a very good album. I really like. And then some year later, you release a new album, Into Color, in November 15 in the UK. I think in UK, Ireland, and Japan picked to number 12 in the UK, and then was released by Atlantic Record. And the first single there, Dangerous, it's different. It was up-tempo number, if you will, a little bit of disco. It was available all over the world, I think, at the time, right? So every radio station was playing the track. So
I'm so glad. I can't remember much about it at the time.
Oh, yeah.
When we first wrote that line, is your love too dangerous? I thought and you can hear me on the voice memo on my recording device. I say, that sounds disco to me.
Yeah.
And so whenever I always tend to produce a track the way that the song is going, and that was just where it was going. And so I just went with it. I went with the song where the song was leading me.
Yeah, it's a very good album. I'm quite sure you did very well. And it plays for, I keep track of, I have like a website where I go to see how popular a particular track was in different countries. It's very good. And the album gained very good reviews. I think it was the foundation for you for the 2015 tour day, right? You were traveling at the time, you were touring, and bigger venues, bigger places. And
I did a good tour in 2015 or 14, I can't remember, and then
2015, yeah.
a US tour.
Yeah.
And then, oh, I'm gonna get. Hi, Denny. Can you say hello to Claudio?
Hello, can I stay with you?
Yeah, can you say hello?
Hello, how are you? Hello, how are you?
Mommy, please go do some work with you, Mommy.
Yeah, we're gonna put all those clothes away.
Yes.
Can you put them in
Mommy,
piles?
look what I found. My best book.
Oh wow!
What book is that?
I'm looking for the blue book and I didn't.
Oh, okay.
I'm looking for the blue one and I couldn't find it anywhere.
Well, we'll find it. I'm wondering, we've got more to cover here, haven't we, Claudio?
Yeah, we do.
Whether we should. I don't know what time zone you're on, but I could do maybe 9 o'clock.
I am EST, so I think you are 5 hours ahead. Yeah, I can ping you.
Mommy,
Hold on. Let me look at.
it's yours.
Thank you.
Your ribbon.
Let's do the following, Sarah. I have an interview at 2 and at 3, but then I will send you an email and send you some tentative time. You prefer to do it like a late night for you, around 9, 10 p.m.? Are you awake or?
I'm on tour tomorrow for 3. I'm hitting the road tomorrow, and I'm going to be gone solid till. I mean, I could do the hotel on Friday. I could do Friday. But then sound check. Put that in the bin, actually. Sound check hits around the time that you wake up.
Yeah. No. Well, let's try to do this afternoon, if you will. I will give you some tentative time. We'll send you an email, then we'll take it from there.
Okay, Denny, can you speak Spanish? ¿Hablas español? Can you say, ¿Cómo estás?
¿Cómo estás?
Your Portuguese is a bit better, actually. Say bom dia.
Bom dia. Obrigado.
Obrigado.
Yeah, you need to put the kid in Spanish school or a Spanish lesson or something. It's very important to learn more languages. So,
Claudio, I am in desperate need of a translator for that section.
No, I will help you. Don't worry. I'm a man of my work.
Oh, amazing! Thank you so much. All right, well, I'll speak to you later. Then I look forward to getting an email from you. Okay, cheerio.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.